I know the big question in terms of Torey for this game is it feels like we're always parsing through Torey's bullpen decisions. That's what our show consists of at this point.
We should make that a segment.
We probably should just make that a segment. But yeah, the sort of controversial decision that Torey made today was bringing in AJ Puk to face one hitter, which wound up being a right-handed hitter because the Giants pinch hit for Grant McCray with Luis Matos, and he strikes him out, does his job. And then Torey decides not to bring Puk out for the next inning, despite the fact that the first hitter would have been Mike Yastrzemski, who's a left-handed hitter, and I don't think Bob Melvin would have pinch hit for him. So I understand where people are coming from on that. One thing I will say is that if you do bring Puk out, then he has to face the minimum 3. So he wouldn't have just been able to face Yastrzemski. He also would have had to face Tyler Fitzgerald, who's really crushed left-handed pitching. So I imagine that played into Torey's calculus. I think more than anything, like beyond the left-right stuff, the best argument for leaving Puk in is just that Puk has been the best reliever on this team by a pretty wide margin for a while now. And it feels like, just looking back on this game, like the fact that it was AJ Puk who faced one hitter and Justin Martinez and Ryan Thompson faced so many, it just feels like that's not the way that you'd necessarily want to draw it up. I mean, AJ Puk, I had his numbers up here a second ago. His numbers since joining the Diamondbacks are ridiculous.
7-foot-tall Amish-looking man. I mean, he's intimidating and terrifying.
What more do we have to say
about his numbers? Like, can you imagine facing that? I mean, like, okay, the 7 feet tall, that speaks for itself. But the Amish part, they are so hardworking, right? Like, you have no idea the amount of work that man's put in to get to the level where he's at.
So I do have Puk's numbers now. So including today, AJ Puk, since joining the Diamondbacks, has pitched 15 innings, allowed 8 hits, 1 run. He has 2 walks and 23 strikeouts in 15 innings of work. He has been the team's best reliever.
And he's only pitched 15 innings.
Right. And it feels like the fact that AJ Puk is a lefty sort of works against him in Torey's system, right?
Yes.
He's being saved for specific moments. He's being used, like in today's case, to get one key hitter out, to get out of a tough spot, and then you're passing the baton to somebody else for the next inning. Yeah, I understand where people are coming from. Hindsight is 2020. Like, if Ryan Thompson pitches a 1-2-3-8, like, we're not having this conversation. But
sure,
I see where people are coming from for sure.
First, I want to address Tony's comment right there. He said, despite our frustrations, I don't think we'll ever get into Torey's head with his decisions. It'll be a crazy ride to the end of this season. I think that's something that, like, at times we try to explain simply because it's not to say we even understand Torey's decisions, but we're present when he gives the explanation and the thought process behind it. And Torey does at times, especially in like the pregame pressers, that we don't even post this stuff or even talk about it that often, but that's where he goes kind of into detail sometimes about why he does the things he does with guys and why he manages the way he manages. And like, you kind of hear it over and over. And a lot of it really is like Torey feels like part of his job is building these guys up and building their belief in themselves. And at times, yes, managing games, like that's all we as fans care about, right? Is the results. We just care about the wins and losses. And at times, Torey has so much more that he's trying to manage. He's trying to manage 6, 7, 8 games ahead sometimes in a way that we don't really think and have to worry about scheduling out in the same way that a major league manager schedules. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but I think that this comment is very right, is that even when we sit up here and criticize his decisions, especially with the bullpen, like, yeah, I mean, things don't go right sometimes, and then when they don't go right, you as the manager are now to blame for it. Like Jesse said, if he goes out there and shoves, this is not discussed. I will say that leaving Ryan Thompson out there for as long as he did seems silly, especially considering that Ryan Thompson didn't look like he had his best stuff tonight. Yeah. And there's just a point where, you're going to end up just getting yourself into the mess that you're getting yourself into and then going to the person that you don't really want to turn to anyway, right? Like they end up going to Justin Martinez for a 4-out save, which I didn't like, and they didn't have the best results, but the end result is that the Diamondbacks won the game. And the end result there was that Justin Martinez was able to not let things completely spiral out of control despite not being perfect tonight, and lets this team walk away with a win. Sean said it earlier. Jesse said it. a win is a win, and that is tonight's win. Like, you're not happy about it. You're not leaving here like patting yourselves on the back like you would have had this been a 7-1 victory or an 8-1 victory. It would have been much different, but you're still leaving here thinking, well, they got the job done.
So let's play through that eighth inning.
Let's do it.
So like, if you were going to hypothetically take Ryan Thompson out sooner, I'm just curious when people think that should have happened. And I imagine that you're thinking of going to maybe Kevin Ginkel in that spot because you probably don't want to bring in Justin Martinez any earlier than maybe he was already brought in. Although like I guess there were 2 outs for a while in that inning.
There were.
So
that's what I'm saying.
It still would have been a 4-out save for him. But
I think maybe after the single.
Yeah, so it was a Yastrzemski homer. Tyler Fitzgerald strikes out. Helio Ramos singles. Matt Chapman strikes out. So at that point, you've got 1 runner on base and 2 outs. Thompson is already allowed to run, yes, but he's 1 out away from getting out of the inning. And that would seem a little bit early.
And it's a 7-3 ball game at that point.
Right. And then Lamont Wade Jr. walks on 4 pitches. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe there was an element of wanting to be careful there, but obviously Thompson's command was not great. And then Thompson allows...
No, they intentionally walked...
They intentionally walked him in the 9th.
Oh, that's right.
I believe this was in the 8th. Ryan Thompson was just struggling to throw strikes. So at that point, you've got first and second 2 out. Thompson has just walked the guy on 4 pitches. I could maybe see wanting to take him out there. He winds up facing Joao Encarnacion, who singles. That scores a run, and then Jorge Barosa makes a throwing error. Ryan Thompson wasn't backing the play up in the right spot. Suddenly, those runners are at second and third instead of just first and second. Maybe that's where you want to pull him. Torey was 1 guy after that. He allowed Patrick Bailey to drop down a bunt that Ryan Thompson did not successfully field. And that's when Torey eventually made the decision. So, I mean, are you bringing in Kevin Ginkel to face Patrick Bailey? Like, that's a little weird because Patrick Bailey is a left-handed hitter. I guess maybe you're bringing in Ginkel to face Encarnacion. I think I could maybe see that as well.
I probably wouldn't have removed Puck from the game, so it's hard for me to say like where I would have done it. But yeah, I mean, I probably would have gone to somebody else at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you hate
to use like Puck, Thompson, Ginkel, and Martinez
all in this game
in a game that your starter pitched 6 2/3 innings.
It's gross.
But
that's gross.
Yeah, maybe the result would be a little bit cleaner. Although I will also say Kevin Ginkel did not throw well at all in his last outing. I believe he faced 3 batters and all of them reached. So
I still think Ginkel should be in that role that Ryan Thompson is in. I think that setup role is better fit for Kevin Ginkel. I think the only problem is, and you brought this up earlier before we started the show, is that Kevin Ginkel is so good with inherited runners. So, like, typically that setup role is just starting the 8th inning clean. And I mean, it almost seems like a misuse of somebody who's very talented at coming into games, you know, with runners on.
Yeah. I mean, I think the larger reality here is, like, yes, I understand people maybe having gripes with some of the decisions that Torey made tonight, but it's hard to manage a bullpen when there's AJ Puck and everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Like there just aren't really. I get Ginkel, despite his last outing, has pitched better lately, so maybe you'd put him in a separate category. But Ryan Thompson has not pitched very well lately. Justin Martinez continues to be in the closer role, and he did get the job done tonight. He hasn't blown a save since he took over that role, which is impressive. But he has looked a little shaky recently, right?
Yeah.
So this just isn't like last season around this time.
Have the meeting with him before the inning, Jesse. I told you that. They waited until the last batter to have the meeting with him, and then he goes out there and freaking absolutely blows the guy away. What are we doing here? Let's get out there. Let's have that meeting first thing before any batter even comes up, and let's get Justin Martinez's head right.
We all silly like the mayor.